All right, so there's rumors and just more rumors floating around about Steel City potentially being bought by a big time publisher like EA or 2K. Is it possible? I mean, yeah. Is it likely? Not really. So firstly, I want to state, look, we were told strictly by the devs in a previous update that if it didn't come from them, then more than likely it's not true until they say this is what happened. We've already run into a situation where things have been said and it was like, look, they had to come out and just make it clear. Look, if you didn't hear it from us, then don't believe it until you hear it from us. That's number one. So number two, the big question is not really have they been bought out, right? We don't have the facts on that yet. So we can't, and this is the thing about us as content creators, we have to be careful about the things that we say, especially when it comes to bold predictions and roundabouts, because without the actual facts, man, the things that we say can be taken as gospel. So we have to be careful, right? So the question is not have they been bought out. We'll know when that happens. There's no reason to speculate on that. We'll know. The real question is, would they, and why would they need a publisher at this state of the game's development? Indie companies, and even non-indie companies, in general will sign on to a publisher because they need funding in order to continue development of the game. And this is where understanding how the publisher and developer relationship actually works comes into play, right? The developer develops the game. They basically take an idea, their IP, and then they bring it to life. A publisher can help to fund the development of the game, and depending on what the contract says between the two, they can receive money after the game is brought out, and they can receive a percentage that is determined between the publisher and the developer. So it's not really a strong arm situation unless you allowed yourself to be strong armed in the contract. Now, the contract is something else that is extremely important because there are no real standards out there as far as publisher versus developer contracts go. No two contracts are really going to look the same depending on the companies that you're working with. So is it really a bad thing or would it be a bad thing for ESBC to sign on to a publisher? No, not really. It actually wouldn't be. But I do not believe that signing on to a publisher would force the game's release date backwards. I don't believe that. Because there are things that when it comes down to the verbiage of a contract, the developer literally could say, no. Just because you signed on does not mean you have control over development of the game. It does not mean that you have control over when my game has to come out, because you do not control my IP unless I give you the right for it. Now, a publisher can request to have milestones set for the development of the game. And the developers would then, because they are contractually bound to the publisher, the developer would have to meet those milestones in order to basically stay within the grounds of their, the legal confines of their contract. Now, do I believe that ESBC or SCI has signed on to a publisher, or as people are out there believing that they have sold the company? Who knows, man? But I can give you my opinion on it. I can give you my thought if that was the case. I personally would not think that it would be a good idea. I mean, look at the amount of work that this team has done in such a short amount of time, to be completely honest. All right, they turned a game which looked like it was going to be something that should have been on an arcade machine, no disrespect, but the initial video that we saw was not really the greatest, especially in comparison to what they have right now. Any team who has put that amount of energy into a project and then is willing to turn around and then sell that project to someone else just for monetary gain, I don't know if you really valued your work to begin with. I personally would want to see it through. It would be like if your child had a lemonade stand and they were being told that it was the best lemonade in town. And then all of a sudden, somebody pulled up and said, hey, here's the check. You give me your lemonade stand and I'll cut you a check right now. Knowing too that your lemonade is worth far more than what is on that check, more than likely. It just wouldn't be a good idea to me. You know what I'm saying? It just wouldn't be. That's almost like a get rich quick scheme, man. Like it's not. I would definitely want to see this through. And one thing I can tell you, okay, from the beginning, I remember early interviews with Ash Habib, and the one thing that you always heard in every single interview was that this was a boxing game made by boxing fans and gamers, man. Like, I just don't foresee Ash or anybody else on that team being willing to sell the game. It just doesn't make any logical sense to me, especially not right now. Would they sign on to a publisher and have someone else come in and publish the game? It's possible. Do they need it? I don't really know 100%. I would say though, the perception is no, that they don't need it. They have enough funding. It seems as though they have enough funding. It seems as though they have enough partnerships at the moment, and that they can do whatever they want. I said in the last video that I believe that they really could release the game right now if they wanted to, and the only thing they're doing is putting some additional polish on it. Now, I will say that has ESBC or has Steel City been approached by other publishers? It'd be crazy if they wasn't. Hell, if I was a publisher, I would be approaching SCI right now, saying, hey, what can I do to get involved in your project? Because it's probably gonna make a good deal of money. 200 and something plus fighters already signed to a game. I mean, you have co-chairman of Empire Pro Tape. You have, former coaches. You have boxers. You have people. All of these people are out there talking and promoting your product everywhere. Of course, people would want to get in because as of right now, SCI holds the golden ticket to boxing video games. And I mean, it's clear because I have seen some of the wildest ideas out there right now where people are literally saying because they've seen a boxing ring inside of 2K22, 2K has possibly bought Steel City Interactive. Dude, it is crazy how wild some of the ideas can get, man. Has Steel City been approached by a company? Or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10? I would probably think so. I would almost bet on it that they've been approached by a few companies. But I do believe that it would take probably an absolute Willy Wonka type golden ticket in order for SCI to A, sign on with a publisher, B, to sell the IP in itself. And that latter portion, I don't even really see that as an idea at all, especially not right now. And that's just my personal opinion. But again, let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it down in the comments. Do y'all honestly believe that Steel City has been bought out by EA or 2K? I find it hard to believe that. But if you have an opinion, please drop it because I would like to hear it. Do you think that EA has or Steel City has signed on with the publisher? And if so, would it be a bad thing? I personally say no. But again, if you have, because it comes down to the contract verbiage. And these guys don't seem, look, if they were an indie company full of guys who had no experience in what they were doing, I'd say let's be a little bit worried if they had signed on to a publisher. Because in most cases, indie companies with no experience don't know how to truly negotiate a contract with a publisher because the publisher is the one that comes in with all of the weight. In this case, dude, I've said it before, I don't call these guys indie anymore. They have far too much experience on that team. Way too much experience. No publisher is going to be able to walk through that door with a ridiculous contract and strong arm this team at this point. It's just not going to happen. But again, let's talk about it down in the comments, man. It should make for a damn good conversation because I for sure would like to hear what you guys got to say. I would like to hear, honestly, what SCI has to say at this point, because the rumors they're growing day by day by day. And I do believe that this particular topic is something that needs to be addressed. So look, let's talk about it. I appreciate y'all for coming back to the Coach's Corner, man. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace out.